5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Here in the Diocese of Sioux Falls, we have a vision: lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love. And over the last several months, we've been talking about this vision, what it means, why we have it, and so on. But in today's episode of Ignition, we want to talk about what difference does it make? In effect, so what to the diocesan vision? That's what we're going to be talking about today on the show. I'm Chris Bergwald, your host, and we want to set your faith ablaze so that you might live the adventure that comes from a relationship with Jesus Christ. Before we get into the topic of the vision, we want you to know that we love feedback from our listeners. So if you've got questions about this episode or if you have ideas for another episode, please contact us. And the easiest way to do so is by email. The email address is ignition@sfcatholic.org. Again, ignition@sfcatholic.org. I'm joined by, oh my gosh, Renae, I can't talk today.
Words are hard,
Words
Chris.
are hard. For a podcast, that's rough.
Yes, it is.
So, but the way I'm thinking about this is I'm getting all of the words that are hard out of the way for this episode.
I hope so.
So Renae Kranz is my guest,
Yes.
well, my co-host
Yes.
again today. So Renae, we've been talking about, again, the diocesan vision here in the Diocese of Sioux Falls, as I said, for probably several months at this point. For some of us on staff, we've heard about it for over a year now. But I want to talk about who cares.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's listening, maybe they've heard it and heard it and heard it. And
Or even if they've just heard it and they're just like, yeah, so?
Right.
I don't understand.
So I should say, if you want to learn more... If you want to learn more about what the vision means, if you go to sfcatholic.org/vision, there's a whole series of videos that Father Scott Traynor and Al Gallagher and myself did on the vision for what it means and a little bit about why it matters. But as I was thinking about what would be a good topic for today's episode of Ignition, I thought, so what might be a good way to go. So I gave you, unusually... I gave you advanced notice.
Right? A whole 2 hours.
And 20 minutes.
During which time I had many other things to do.
Whatever.
Thank you.
So I have thoughts, but this is not a monologue. It's a dialogue. When you think about that question for yourself, maybe for people you know, maybe for the listeners in a general way, what comes to your mind in terms of so what regarding our diocesan vision?
Well, for me, I think we have to think about where we are as a people, both the people of the church and just people in general. Like, where are we? And in a lot of ways, where we are is not that great.
Sure.
So we need to do something different. And just going to church every Sunday and hanging out and, hey, I'm Catholic, isn't really getting us anywhere. So we have to think about that. So what? How do we do something different? And what is that thing to make things, to put things on a different path that gets us closer to God, be better communities, better Americans, better Catholics? All of those things can all feed off of improving the way we see our faith life or changing how we see it in relation to everybody else.
So when you think about...
that all sounded really smart for me.
Really well done.
After I just smashed my microphone into my face.
I ignored that.
Thank you.
Or I tried to, at least. I'm sure you, like some of us, could recite the vision backwards in your sleep. In your own words, how would you articulate the vision? So this is going to be I'm going to give you what might be an impossible challenge right now. This was not part of my prep, so
thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
If you could restate the diocesan vision without using any of the words that are in the vision, how might you do it?
I would say, how do I bring Jesus to other people so they understand that God loves them?
That's really good.
How about that?
That's really good. How can I bring Jesus to other people?
So they know God loves them.
Yep. So that's Renae Kranz's restatement in her own words of the diocesan. The only thing
that is not the new diocesan vision.
No. but I think. But okay, why is it worth doing that? Why is it worth
Well, so we can see if we're internalizing
Yes.
and hearing what the bishop has offered to us.
So the fact that that was like, I was prepared to have like some uncomfortable radio silence for like maybe 5 seconds, which on the radio is
I
like
must have had enough
forever
breakfast this
right?
morning or something.
The fact that you were able to do it to me does say that at least one person
Bishop, are you listening?
that you've internalized. The only thing I would, Renae, just I think it starts with discipleship is the heart of it. So it's me following so that I can.
Right. Yep.
But how
That's
do
very
I
true, yeah.
how do I draw closer to Jesus myself and share him with others so that they know how much he loves them?
Right.
Why is that worth doing?
Because there are a lot of people who don't know that.
So what?
That's where we are, why we are where we are.
And
I believe.
And where are we?
We're in a place of great division in lots of different ways, religious, political. We're just divided in almost every single aspect of life, it seems like. And I think God is the great uniter in many things. Well, in everything, we hope.
I'm a uniter, not a divider.
Yes. So if we don't start bringing people in and living our own life as disciples, we're going to just get more of this.
That's really good. So 2 questions from that. I'll tell you both questions, and I'll let you pick which one you want to start with.
The easy one, of course.
Okay, so are you trying to... so don't answer it. I'm just
Okay.
Okay, so division. But the other way to look at that is, but diversity is a good thing. I mean, you see division, I see diversity. Why are you trying to bring about uniformity? Because isn't that kind of another way to look at what you want? Secondly, seriously, Kranz, the diocesan vision is going to accomplish all of these things. Mm-hmm. So which one of those do you want to... So the second one basically is the less provocative way to put it is, how does the diocesan vision address, if division is really a problem, how does living out what you articulated yourself, or as we articulate it, just the common language, lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love, how does that address the problem? Right. So either of those 2 things. Is what you named, is that really a problem? And secondly, how does the vision help with it?
Those are really good questions. Bill?
Bill's like, the mic today.
Nope, I know. So... Let's just look at the diversity one. Okay. Because to me, that's probably the more difficult one, but also pressing, because there is this big push for diversity. I think people misunderstand maybe what diversity should be or can be. So if you're all united in Christ, that doesn't mean that everything we do is going to be the same and we're all going to believe exactly the same things. But the closer you can get to Jesus and his church, there will be more uniformity in ethics, I suppose. But that doesn't mean they're all the same people. Right. I mean, we're still different people. Right. We still have different experiences. All those things are good. We bring those experiences to that unity. So I guess that's how I would. Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful.
No. I think it's good. So I think it's worth. So what I want to do with this one is, I think, clarify or make, you already stated it very clearly, but talk more about why division is a problem, and then what the difference is between division and authentic diversity. Right. So I would start with the second one first. I completely agree. So there is authentic diversity. We're not talking about uniformity in all things. We are talking about some degree of uniformity. St. Paul, I think it's in his letter to the Ephesians, talked about how there's one Lord, one faith, one baptism. Right. There's one Bible, there's one catechism. So there's some degree of uniformity in understanding the nature of God, of what he's revealed to us, and so on.
To me, truth itself would be uniform.
Right.
So
Yeah.
There's going to be uniformity to a degree.
Yes. So there will be some degree of uniformity, but when we look at that, so a common image here is how a prism refracts, whatever the word is, light.
I have no idea.
So light shines into a prism, and what do you get out? You get a spectrum of colors. The one light does create a spectrum of color from purple on one end to yellow.
Something on the other.
Something on the other, whatever it is. Clearly, it's
we're really
great
good
metaphor.
at science.
Yeah, science is
Bill's dying over here.
Our strength. But what that looks, so what, in other words, what the truth, the common truth looks like in my life and yours, we embrace the same truth, but it's going to look a little bit differently in terms of how it manifests itself in our lives. So definitely the common image here is a flower garden. They're all flowers.
Right. Yep.
But you get many different variety of flowers. They're not all the same. There is beauty in the diversity, but they're all flowers.
Right.
They all need to be watered and cultivated.
Yeah, they still need the same things.
They need the same things,
sun.
sunlight and so on. So we all need the sun.
Yes, that was good.
So I think that so I think that's what authentic diversity is, and how you get the diversity, unity, uniformity problem solved. But why is division? I mean, there's never been there's always been division.
Yes,
but. I do think you're right that if we look at the state of society in the church and in our country, even here in South Dakota or the upper Midwest, there's a lot of division, and that I would say, like, there can be healthy division, but there's unhealthy division.
Right.
And so when you have family members and good friends who can't talk to each other anymore because of issue A, B, or C, and we can go all probably through and X, Y, and Z. There's probably 26 different issues. At least. That's a problem.
Yes.
Where people are unable to communicate with one another, where I'm unable to understand your perspective, where I'm unable to be in relationship with you as a friend or a family member. That's a problem.
Right. And I think those divisions have gotten worse because it's much easier because of social media, the internet, and so on, to have your little tribe and to only hear the things you want to hear. So that division becomes deeper and much deeper than 100 years ago when you just didn't have those things.
Right.
You didn't know what your neighbor thought about X, Y, or Z.
You didn't. And therefore, because we're divided in that, then it's much harder for us to come together and address, to be honest, real problems that are going on. So not to say these issues aren't important, the things that we're disagreeing about. So there might still be disagreement, but what would be great is if we could have healthy disagreement about these issues and still work together in common to address other issues like poverty.
Right.
Or, big issues that are still present in our society. Poverty just being a common one that we're still trying to obviously solve.
Right.
And that's real even here in Eastern South Dakota.
Yeah.
So by overcoming division enough where we can work together on other problems, that's something worth doing.
Right.
So I want to come back here in just a moment to, okay, so seriously, how does the Diocesan Vision help overcome that division?
Right.
I look forward to your answer in just a moment. But if you're just tuning in to listen to Ignition, I'm your host, Dr. Chris Bergwald, visiting today with Renae Kranz about the Diocesan Vision here in Eastern South Dakota, lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love, and sort of answering the question, so what, with regard to that vision. And so, Renae, your pitch, the angle that we've been taking is, well, there's a lot of division in society, as we're just discussing. It's preventing us from relating to one another and addressing problems, common problems in common. So that's one answer to the so what. And then my push back to you is, so how does living out the diocesan vision help us overcome the division within our church and our society?
Right. So now you want me to answer that, huh?
Yeah, well, you're the one who said it would.
I know. I didn't know you were going to ask me, how does that work? I'm just going to throw it at you and make you do it.
Oh, come on. How many episodes of Ignition have we done? You should know better by now.
I know. I think that the only one who can probably help us with this division right now is probably Jesus. So if we can get closer to him by being better disciples, by learning more about our faith, and then being comfortable with becoming missionary with it, so evangelizing the people in our own lives,
Yep.
then hopefully some of those barriers and divisions can start to ease a little bit. They may not go away entirely, but then if you can at least start to find some common ground to relate to each other, and what better common ground to relate to each other than the church and God. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, I think that's pretty much, if not spot on, at least on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
So Satan is the one who seeks to divide.
Right.
So Satan scatters.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to create disharmony, disunity, that is division. And Jesus overcomes and conquers that division. Last week's episode, I got pretty impassioned about how we need to go on the offensive.
Right.
And one way I think we really need to go on the offensive is precisely on this point of division within the church and with society, because of the things we already talked about, and all sorts of other problems are caused when we lack unity. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is a common metaphor image as well. So if you think of like a bicycle wheel,
mm-hmm.
And if I'm more deeply connected as a spoke to the hub, I'm closer. If I'm closer to the center of the wheel, I'm also closer to the other spokes.
Oh, right. Yep.
Right. So the closer I draw to Jesus, the closer I am to you.
Right.
Whereas when I'm further away from Jesus, I'm further away from you.
Right.
The closest I get to you is when I'm closest to him.
Mm-hmm.
St. Paul's image of the church as the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
When I am fully integrated into the body, when I'm not, we're going to get grotesque here pretty quick, but if I'm like a finger that's like partially hanging off or whatever,
this is a weird show right now.
I'm not as connected to you.
Right.
So
literally.
Literally. So the more I'm connected to him, the more I'm connected to you.
Right.
The other thing I think would say, the end of, you did use a word in your rearticulation that's in the vision. I just realized it.
What?
Love.
Yeah, I did.
That's in the vision.
Yeah.
Your challenge was to.
Okay, God really likes you? A lot?
It's hard. I think it's hard to restate the vision without at least using love. But love covers a multitude of sins.
Mm-hmm.
Love, when I know God's love for me, when I'm deeply aware of God's love for me, it's much easier for me to love other people.
Right. Yep.
And to put up with their foibles. And likewise, them with mine.
Right.
So how can living out the diocesan vision overcome division within church, society, frankly, families? If I saw you the way that God the Father sees you, the way that Jesus Christ sees you, I would interact with you much differently.
Right.
Than I do.
That's a really good point.
I would be much more forgiving of the ways that you're a jerk to me.
He's not talking about me specifically.
Okay, if you say so. I would be I'd be more, whatever, about the ways that you and I disagree around issue A, B, or C, X, Y, or Z, because I see you for what you really are.
Sure.
A beloved daughter of the Father and my, in this case, slightly older big sister. So we're family, and now that's not always a great metaphor because, well, I don't get along with my family, but we get the idea that we should, right?
Yes.
So that if I love with the heart of Jesus Christ, if I have His heart, I am going to overcome the divisions between you and I much more, even if you're uninterested.
Right.
So it's not just between missionary disciples. It's even if I have that, even if you don't.
That's really good to point out. Yeah.
Then I am going to be much more forgiving.
Right.
Much less likely to be, I'm going to take my marbles and go home because you think that and I think this.
And sooner or later, that person who isn't in that missionary discipleship mode will see that.
Yeah.
They'll see that something's different.
Yes.
And you handle this different than everybody else does.
Yes. So I think this is getting to my answer to the question. I think when we live this way, when we are actually living out, I draw closer to Jesus so that I can draw others closer to Jesus to know how much he loves them, and kind of a rough restatement of the way you put it. If I'm living out lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love, I will act in a way that is, and we have talked about this before, but it's attractive to other people, and it will overcome divisions.
Right.
Because even if that's not to say that all of our disagreements are going to go away, but the way that we disagree, even when it's one-sided in terms of the difference, the way that we disagree is going to be different, and it will be possible for us to collaborate in addressing other problems in our society. Well,
and to maybe have a dialogue about the things we disagree about, without it devolving into a knockdown, drag out fight. To
be able to find, because I am absolutely convinced if you dig deep enough, you'll find common ground.
Right.
So take whatever any hot button issue. Well, why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Yep.
If you dig deeply
questions.
enough, you'll find, well, I agree with you on that.
Right.
It's just somewhere at a higher level. I go somewhere else with it.
Right.
But to be able to dig deeply enough to find that common ground, that truth that we hold in common, you're able to do that when you don't just fly off the handle because we disagree about that top level issue.
Right.
So I want to go back to something. Okay. So the whole point here is diocesan vision. So what? Have you seen this happen in your own life? Maybe in the last year and a half since Bishop DeGrood started sharing this vision, but maybe like many people, I know Renae Kranz was already living out what we know as the diocesan vision.
Oh, sure.
Prior to last spring, last summer, this spring, etc. Have you seen living this way actually do some of the things that you and I are proposing it will do?
In my own life.
Or the lives of real people. In other words, is this just theory or does this actually work? And where have you seen it work?
No, I think it definitely works. I think I've seen it more in like my younger brother who lives in California. When he moved out there, he was looking for friends. And so he got involved with the street evangelization. Is it St. Paul Street Evangelization? Yeah. And some different things like that. And so because he wanted to get closer to Christ, and he saw that as a way to also make friends and build community. So he's been able to do that. But then that has spilled over into other parts of his life. He was working on a university campus that was very secular. And so he had to really hold on to his values and so on there. And now I don't know this for sure, but from my conversations with him, I have a feeling that some of his values that he can hang on to because of the people he hangs around with, because of him drawing closer to Jesus, have affected some of the people that he's been around. Maybe in very small ways, but all of those little things can add up to bigger things later. So yeah, I think I have seen it there for sure.
Yeah, and I can just think of instances doing little. Okay, so this is going to probably seem like a silly instance, but go with me. Several years ago, together with another family on our block, and the other family is actually the family of a coworker of mine here at the
okay.
diocese.
Yep.
We started organizing a Labor Day block party.
Right.
So for the last 5, 6, 7 years, give or take.
Why Labor Day?
Because it was coming up and we had
bizarre.
a day off
Okay.
and we decided
Okay, so like it's an end of summer block party kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though school here in Sioux Falls, South
Right.
Dakota is usually start a couple weeks, but we started organizing a block party, and it's just a way for us to be together with our neighbors, living life together. And I see our diocesan block party, our streets block party, as a small way in which we are living out the diocesan vision that have been for several years, because we're building community around a thing. And so as I build relationship with my neighbors, some of whom are very faithful Catholics, others of whom are very faithful Christians, but they're not Catholic, and then others who aren't really churchgoers at all.
Right.
But building relationship with them, they get to know us, and maybe the Bergwalds don't do it for them, but maybe the Gallaghers do, or the Blaylocks, or the Shops, or whatever. So these other families who are as connected to the center of the hub, that is Jesus Christ, the center of the wheel, the hub of the wheel. They're not as connected, but they'll see these families and they, and so we're in relationship with them. And that's just a small way where you grow a relationship and you are, by the witness of your life, living out the diocesan vision as a missionary disciple.
Yeah, this is what the apostles did. This is what the early disciples did. This is how Christianity spread.
Right.
They didn't have the internet.
Right.
They had to go and meet people and get to know people and tell them about Jesus and that. So when they were saying something about that on the radio the other day, and I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? We really don't need social media to do this. We can do this in our own lives.
Yeah, St. Paul didn't go into Corinth with the latest DVD or live streaming study or even book other than what we call the Old Testament.
Right.
So it's all about our knowledge of God, our knowing God personally, and our knowledge of Him and what He has revealed, and us living it out with others.
Right.
So, Renae, we got about half a minute left. Any when you think about so what, any final thoughts?
There's a lot of ways we could take that still. So I think it's something we could talk about again. So
maybe my encouragement, folks, learn about the vision if you haven't yet, but then actually bring this to prayer and bring this to other people. Lord, spouse, friends, how can we live out this diocesan vision?
Yeah.
Thanks, Renae.
Yep.
And that we're up this episode of Ignition. Again, you can email us, ignition@sfcatholic.org, with any thoughts, questions, or ideas for future episodes. And until next time, may God bless you.